What's going on, guys? This is Ryan with RK Outpost, and Lucasfilm continues to change official Star Wars canon that was established by George Lucas, whether it was in the original trilogy or the prequels, in order to fit the new Disney Star Wars narrative. Now, this is happening in books, this is happening in the movies, this is happening in comics, this is happening in TV shows, even TV shows that you may really like and characters you may be really attached to. And we're going to get into a couple of the more recent things about that now. The first one I want to get to is this. Altered further, Disney continues to reconstruct Star Wars canon. This first example takes place in yet another telling of the rise of Skywalker. Months later, they're still rewriting this mess of a book. Now this one continues in the junior novelization of the rise of Skywalker. You see this quote up here. "Always two there are," Yoda observed ominously at Qui-Gon's funeral, "no more, no less. A master and an apprentice." And he's talking about the Sith. He's talking about the rule of two, something that has been established and even talked about by George Lucas himself.
You have the master, you have the apprentice, and the apprentice is always trying to recruit another apprentice to join with him to kill the master.
But evidently, that's all a misinterpretation, even by the creator, George Lucas. Let's see what this excerpt says right here. As Rey learns while reading an ancient text, the Jedi misinterpreted the rule of two. There aren't just two Sith at any time, but there are two who rule over the rest. Oh, I see. The Jedi were just wrong the whole time. George Lucas, who we just heard in that clip, was wrong. Here it is. The Prime is one, but the Jedi are many, the excerpt reads. The Sith were many, but often emerge ruled by two. The seeds of the galaxy have been sown throughout, or the seeds of the Jedi have been sown throughout the galaxy. On Ossus, Jeddah, Zenziar, and others. The Sith have no seeds, since what they bury does not grow. They are despoilers of worlds and have laid waste to once fertile habitats such as Korriban, Ziost, Ixagal, Asog, and others. So yeah, of course, the Jedi just misinterpreted the rule of two. What George Lucas told us about the Sith, about the rule of two. Disney Star Wars doesn't want to be bound by that. Probably because they have such a hard time being constricted by it. They have no creativity. So they are stuck in the era of Star Wars, which George Lucas created. That is where they are focused on telling so many stories, but that's limited because you can only cram in so many characters. But what if I say, well, no, there weren't just two Sith. There were more. There were way more. They were just all ruled over by Sidious and Vader. Then we can tell stories set in this timeline and still have all of these different villains to play off. That's what I think this is going. That's the purpose that I feel like this is going towards. By the time Disney's finished, Star Wars will be unrecognizable if it isn't already. And then they showed that clip that I just showed you of George Lucas discussing the rule of two. And this is just absolutely ridiculous. This does come from Bleeding Fool and from Ichibaka. Shout out to both Bleeding Fool and Ichibaka over at Disney Star Wars is Dumb. But there's something else that you may not like when I talk about this, but it's the truth. Now, I'm going to talk a little bit about the most recent episode of The Siege of Mandalore. It's not going to be a total breakdown, but I am going to discuss a couple things that happened. So if you want to avoid spoilers, if you have not watched episode 11 Shattered yet, there's not much I can spoil for you because you know the outcome. We already know that Rex and Ahsoka and Maul all live, but we're getting into it right now. This article from Screen Rant. This is more of the same. You might not think this is egregious, but I think there's a big problem with this, and it's one of the issues I have with Clone Wars, specifically this final season. Even as well made as it is, there's some narrative issues. Clone Wars reveals Ahsoka was in Revenge of the Sith. You just missed her. So like I said, they are going back, and they are taking what George Lucas made, and they are changing it definitively. That's why we had that hologram. When you see Kanan from Rebels, oh, he was actually here during Revenge of the Sith. Look, he's right here. I put him in here. This makes sense now, right? We're going back, and we're showing holograms of someone else, of Dryden Voss from Solo. Look, he was here. It's all part of the story, guys. They're going back and they're retconning so many of these things when it comes to Disney Star Wars to try to tell you that, oh, it all works. It all really does belong together. But we know that it doesn't. There's a specific scene. Now, this goes into a lot of discussion. Specifically, what this part is discussing is there is a point very close to the beginning which Ahsoka and Rex are going to speak to the Jedi Council after they have captured Maul. And before they get in there, Mace Windu, Ki-Adi-Mundi, Aayla Secura, and Yoda are all sitting there on holograms, just like the scene in Revenge of the Sith when Mace Windu says, "I sense a plot to destroy the Jedi." They have that entire conversation right there. And it ends with Yoda's warning to use great care when dealing with the Chancellor. And then in Revenge of the Sith, that scene's over. But that's not actually what happened, though. They have Ahsoka walking right after that. Ahsoka, who's not a Jedi anymore, and she speaks with the Jedi Council about this entire thing. Mace Windu just shoves her off. He acts like a dick to her. Saw a lot of people talking about that Mace Windu really needs to learn who he's talking to when he's speaking to Ahsoka. All of the Ahsoka fanboys and girls came out there to bash Mace Windu and what he said to her, saying that, called her civilian, because she had just said herself she was a civilian, not a Jedi anymore. So you put Ahsoka square into this. You're trying to force her into Revenge of the Sith, even though we know she wasn't there. She wasn't planned at that point. We know this didn't happen, because guess what? If what Ahsoka was doing, if Ahsoka was capturing a rogue Sith Lord on Mandalore, that would be discussed. That would be important enough to be discussed when it comes to ending this war. There's no doubt about it. They would have talked about it in Revenge of the Sith. You have another point in time in this where she and Yoda have this little thing at the end where she decides not to tell Yoda about her misgivings about Anakin, what Darth Maul told her about Anakin possibly falling to the dark side. And then later, Ahsoka hears, she literally feels Anakin when he falls to the dark side. Hears everything. Hears the voices of the Chancellor. Hears Anakin's voices as he is going through his fall, his turn. Yet somehow, 15 years later, or 10 years later, whatever it is in Rebels, it's a complete surprise to her that Anakin is Darth Vader, which, again, makes zero sense. But she felt things that Obi-Wan didn't feel, that Yoda didn't feel. They're going back. They're giving her so much connection, so much importance to what happened, the events that happened in the prequels, because they really want to push Ahsoka. They want to connect these things to that era to make you feel like that's how important it really is. That's one of my issues with this. As well as it's made, I have a hard time believing that any of this actually happened, or else it would have been discussed in Revenge of the Sith. We also see I won't get into that because that really does go into a lot of other spoilers for the episode. I want to let you enjoy it if you haven't seen it yet. So please, if you like Clone Wars, that's awesome. These last 4 episodes are it's a really awesome project to see the care, the love, the dedication they put into it. But there are just some things that don't work for me, and that's one of them. But we talked earlier about Rise of Skywalker not being done, or it's not done being told yet. Well, guess what? We have this announcement from Jody Hauser, who is a part of writing this new comic book, Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker adaptation. Less deleted scenes and more new scenes that I wrote, but yes, excited for folks to see this and the magic Will Slaney is creating. So again, this just goes back to the fact that they do not care about canon. They will change it at any possible time. Rise of Skywalker, this is going to come out in May sometime, coming out later in the summer. So even later than that. That's going to be like 6, 7, 8 months later. They're not done writing this movie. There's still going to be more scenes that she wrote. This random person wrote things that are going to be canon for The Rise of Skywalker. What is going on at Lucas? How can they not get this straight? We already saw things. Like I did say, the Ahsoka novel differs from what is going on in the Clone Wars right now. They have already decided to retcon some of the Siege of Mandalore. Some people like those retcons, some people don't. But there is no respect for canon. There's no respect for George Lucas's canon in any way, shape, or form. We know that because we know that Ahsoka was supposed to die. We've heard that so many times, even from Dave Filoni.
I don't think it's a mystery that I've always been a bit more in the Ahsoka lives camp. And George has been very full on in the Ahsoka dies camp. I think I've said that before, if not revelation for you.
And it's time and time again, these people show they do not deserve to have Star Wars. They don't respect it. They don't respect George Lucas. They don't even respect the canon that they have previously established. but it shouldn't come as a surprise, I guess, because it is Disney. It is Lucasfilm we're talking about. But let me know what you guys think about all this in the comments below. Make sure you smash the like button, subscribe to the channel, ring the bell for notifications, share this video out there, and I will talk to you later. Thanks for watching, everyone, and a huge shout out to my patrons. I appreciate you guys so much. Want to follow me on Twitter or Instagram? Check out the description below. You'll find links to my P.O. box and my Patreon as well. And I'll talk to you guys later.